I want to encourage everyone to lift those expectations in every way possible and to really dive into the realness and the authenticity of what makes you, you. Today is a new day. I am Nikki G, your host. Welcome to the Lone Doctrine, a safe space to bridge the gap between your authentic self and your mental health. We are your food for thought exploration station in order to make today better than yesterday. Hello. Welcome back. I'm so excited to have you here. If you are here, please know I send my greatest and deepest gratitude. I love being with you each and every week, and I appreciate your patience. As of late, we've had technical difficulties. We've been transitioning. I have kind of been in a funk, so I've missed some weeks. But if you're here and you've stayed here and you're consistently here, which I know a lot of listeners are, I appreciate you. I appreciate that you've given me your patience and understanding, and know that every part of my being wants us to be able to lift each other up. And I'm always saying that sometimes you need to lend a hand and sometimes you need a hand. And here we go. The topic of the month is expectations. Expectations are taught to us by our culture, by our society, by our family, but they can sometimes be debilitating. Have you ever felt like you should be someone else, you should be better, that you weren't good enough, or that you didn't belong? Our topic of the month is expectations, and we've been all over the map exploring the ins and outs of all the facets of what it means to hold a personal expectation. Tune into the last few episodes if you haven't already, but today I wanted to talk about the expectation of self. And I will start with myself. Now, I've been hesitating really putting this out there, and the sad part of it is because I've been holding the expectation that I'm just going to receive hate. And I had to step back and think about if somebody were to say that to me, I would feel so sad. And the fact is that a lot of us have a hard time saying our truth because there's so many people out there who've been taught to judge and have knee-jerk reactions without accountability and sometimes without remorse into really coming down on people. And the more I'm on social media, the scarier and the more I see that in people's lives, just saying awful things to one another, treating each other so poorly. And it makes me so sad. But then I stepped back and I realized, especially through this last year and with the encouragement of friends and my wife, is that I better start practicing what I preach. Because I tell you almost each and every month how important you are and how important your story is and how important your truth is. And if I'm not living that, why am I here? And the fact is that even if your story is scary, even if you sometimes have that hesitation of telling it, the unfortunate truth is that there's always going to be an opposing party. But by telling your truth, you lessen that opposing party because you're putting out knowledge. And I truly believe that knowledge is peace. Sometimes people are quick to react because they've been taught that they're supposed to react that way without knowing the whole picture or the whole person. And I first and foremost have dealt with these kind of people, and I will admit some of these kind of people are actually now pretty good friends. Every way and all ways are different for every person. Say that 10 times. We're also made up of many parts. But one aspect that I felt an immense weight with sometimes, and something I hold a huge expectation on that I have to work on daily, is my identity. Now, I never understood that. Although I was made of many parts, most of the world only sees me as a lesbian. Now, we welcome everyone. We are an all-inclusive podcast. This isn't centrally focused on one particular thing besides our personal development. And you might be thinking, oh no, this is another gay thing and it's another sob story and what am I going to hear? And that's not what this is. I welcome you to stay, no matter how you identify yourself. And you may identify yourself in what most people call the norm as straight. And that's okay. You are welcome here because we are all humans. Everyone's story, including yours, is important. And if you have an inclination to want to turn this off because, oh no, it's another LGBT thing, I really hope you stay. Because even though I'm going to put this story out there and I may receive a lot of hate, I hope you can just take a moment to realize that this isn't a personal attack on anyone. My story is never a personal attack on anyone. I have never asked to be a stereotype. I've never asked to be a champion or a pioneer or having to be a statement wherever I walk. That is what the world has put upon me, and I'm here to break that down and help each and everyone realize that no matter how you identify, we all are human. And we are made of many, many parts. And ironically, I don't even label myself as a lesbian. I just do that to kind of explain why I have a wife. And my wife is the most wonderful person. We have the most loving relationship, and we're building our life together just as everyone else is. No different. Our hardships, our great times, the good and the bad, it really isn't all that different. But we're taught that it is. And so I've always had this expectation that I've had to fit in this box, that I shouldn't tell anybody, that I should always be, cautious of other people's feelings, which I am. But when I say that, it was, I have to consistently hide myself so other people feel better. I grew up in a very religious family. Didn't always go well. I grew up as a very consistent member in my church. Didn't always go well. But here's the thing. Those expectations of others put so much pressure and weight on me that it not only changed me, but it changed the way I live my life. And it took me years, and still does, for me to just embrace who I am and be proud of who I am and to just live my life. Simply that. I come from a very small town, and in that upbringing, I discovered and came out. Why do we have to come out? That's a totally different story. When I was 16 years old. I will admit I probably knew well before that. I didn't know how much weight I was about to bear until I realized the expectations of the world. I've gone through so many things, feeling like I didn't belong, that I had to hide myself, that I had to change the way I look to make people feel more comfortable. There's a series of things that all branch back to expectations. Expectations within my religion, expectations of not feeling loved if I didn't fit these expectations. And it came from family, it came from friends, it came from my church, it came from the community. And some of it, I will admit, didn't come with bad intention. Some of it came from concern and love. They didn't want me to have a harder life. They didn't want to have to worry. They didn't want me to get hurt for just being me, for just having this very true, authentic feeling of love. Now, you might be thinking, well, what does that even mean? We all have hard times and we all have all these things. Yeah, we all do. But a lot of us have that extra layer. If you're in the LGBT community, you have to live your life very differently. And it's actually an interesting perspective because my wife grew up in a big city. I grew up in a small town, and it was a drastically different experience. And little by little, if you want me to, go ahead and send a message. I'm always open to answer questions and share more of my story. But the reason I kind of touch upon this very lightly is because I want you to realize that when we live our life by other people's expectations, we start to blur the picture of who we are, and it creates a multitude of hardship. It can cause depression, it can cause sadness, it can sometimes cause suicidal thoughts, it can sometimes cause us to not eat well, to not take care of ourselves mentally or physically. It adds this pressure because we're lost in this mist of what the world expects of us. If you're within the community, you may realize what I'm talking about. And there may be similarities and there may be differences. You may have had it easier and you may have had it harder. If you're not within this community, it's not to say that you don't have hardships, and it's not a competition. But what I'm saying is that the weight of your words and the judgment that you have been taught gravely affects this community. Something that you may think is even out of love and concern may set our youth on a path that it similarly set me on, of feeling like they don't belong, that they're constantly wrong, that they shouldn't be here, and that they should change who they are, inside and out. Within these expectations that we have on ourselves, I want to encourage everyone to lift those expectations in every way possible and to really dive into the realness and the authenticity of what makes you, you. Because the more we do that, the more we find the peace within ourselves, the less we judge others. So we can break down the teachings of hate and question them. I want you to question me. I want you to question why you possibly have been told that you don't belong, why you've possibly been told that you need to hate anyone that's in the LGBT community. Because hate is taught, ignorance is taught. And we can dive into this for so long, and it's exhausting. And so many of us are tired. But I understand the responsibility. And part of the transition of the Lone Doctrine was realizing that responsibility and no longer staying silent. I'm not here to offend you. I'm not here to upset you or to prove you wrong. I'm here with a welcoming, open door to just get to know this community. I'm pretty easygoing. I'm easy to talk to, pretty patient. I've had people scream in my face. I've been physically attacked because of who I am for no reason at all. And ironically, instead of letting that shut me down, I have allowed to see that as an opportunity to become someone who can open the door and spread the knowledge in order to move us closer to peace. Because if you hold those feelings of hate or disgust or unsure or so-and-so told me I shouldn't like you, that's actually affecting you more than it is affecting the other people. I don't want you to hold on to that negativity. I want you to release that expectation and realize you too deserve peace. We all do. So whether you're that person or you have someone like that in your life, it's going to take an outrageous amount of patience. I'm holding my hand up for you to keep planting those seeds towards betterment. And part of how we do that is by working on ourselves, of becoming our best self. Because when we're coming into life with this calmness, with a confidence, not an ego, but a confidence, and not with this outrageous idea that it has to be this or that, or we have to be wrong or right. We can just be. We can embrace each other for just being. Expectations can be tricky. It can, of course, motivate us to be our best in some ways, but it can also put us at our worst. So, however you identify, I invite you to stay with me as we continue to peel back all the layers of the onion and release the expectations that aren't doing you any good. We are all up against expectations, and together we can work together to make our lives better, which in turn will make the world a better place. So today and always, keep fighting the good fight.